Welcome to Community Crypto on CoinDesk TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and this week we are discussing how crypto can impact the Middle East. I'm joined now by Matthew Bartin, founder and CEO of Blossom Labs, and Irina Heaver, the blockchain and crypto business lawyer. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having me.
Thank you for.
Yes, very honored to have you all here. And I want to start with you, Irina. So you are the crypto lawyer to know in Dubai. So I wanted to start with you and ask, what are some of the problems you've seen with the businesses typically getting started?
So in Dubai, the business environment is actually quite welcoming. The leadership of Dubai, the leadership of the UAE, the federal authority are making it easier and easier for businesses to start in the Middle East, in Dubai, in the UAE specifically. But there are, of course, a lot of problems. For example, banking is still very difficult. It's very difficult all over the world, and UAE is not an exception. Starting up cost, recently there was a report that was very disappointing for all of us. UAE has the highest licensing costs all over the world, and now that report fortunately was noticed by the federal authorities, and now they are taking that into account when introducing new licensing fees. And some of the free zones, we have 50 of them in the UAE. Some of the free zones have now been slashing the costs of setup, so they're making it more and more affordable. But the beauty of the Middle East is not to set up a company and you can do it anywhere in the world. The beauty of the Middle East, I call it a sleeping giant. We are 570 million people in the Middle East. Can you guess the percentage of banked people?
I would say, let's say 50%.
14.
So I was way off.
14% of 570 million people are banked. But we have the highest penetration of smart devices in the Middle East. So what does that mean for crypto? It's a huge opportunity, and it's a wonderful opportunity because, it takes 30 seconds to download a crypto wallet, as you know yourself, and, boom, you're banked. You can carry out business. You are connected to international commerce. Your cousin from New York can send you some birthday gift, etc., etc. And this is why I see that the Middle East is the place to be for international crypto companies.
Oh yeah, and the cost of doing business, as you just said, licenses, keeps a lot of the small businesses out, right? Here at Community Crypto, we're trying to say how we can get more people involved. So I understand that issue, and I know. Okay, go ahead.
Unfortunately, yes, unfortunately. But the federal government of the UAE is taking some steps to address that. Yes, there's a lot of hurdles to start up. Cost one of them, licensing is another. Time, everything takes a bit longer in the Middle East. Everything is inshallah bukra. But things are getting much, much better.
Glad to hear it. And Matthew, tell us a little bit about Blossom Labs and the work you're doing in the Middle East as well.
Sure. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulullah. Start in the name of God, praising God and sending peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad. So Blossom helps small community-run banks manage their business with software and tools, and then also help grow their business by giving international investors access to funding these banks using Sharia-compliant funding mechanisms, which, as you know, the Middle East, that's very, very important, is providing financial services that are in line with the rules and principles of the religion. So that's what we do. We provide in the Middle East investors with an opportunity to make investments that help grow community-run banks that are helping Muslim-owned businesses primarily in Southeast Asia and Indonesia.
Yes, and when we say Bitcoin is for everybody, we mean it. And you saying that Bitcoin complies with Sharia law kind of leads me to my next question, which I wanted to ask you. Please explain to the people that or how Bitcoin is halal, which it came out in a article before, and that it complies with Sharia law. Please explain that more as far as why Bitcoin can still be used.
Sure. So we published a working paper in April of 2018. We looked at several things. So the first thing we looked at is it halal, or in other words, is it permissible? Halal just means permissible. Is it allowed for Muslims to use Bitcoin, first and foremost? Second, is it allowable as an investment? And third, we went a step deeper and said, does Bitcoin actually satisfy the rules of Islamic currency? And so principally, the working paper that we published answered yes to all of those questions. Now, what that means is, first, is Bitcoin something that can be owned? There's the concept of property. It has to be something that is allowed to be owned. Alcohol in Islam is not allowed to be owned. Any transaction involving alcohol is not permissible. Same thing with pork. So Bitcoin falls under virtual goods, which actually scholars have long recognized that non-tangible things can in fact be property, such as intellectual property rights, right? The name of a company. These things are all permissible forms of property. And so then the next layer is, does it actually comply with the rules of currency? So yes, principally it's something that can be owned. It's okay to own it. And then a step deeper, is it actually Islamic currency? Now, many scholars have said, yes, it is. It's even better than sovereign currency because it's not based on debt. Other scholars have said, well, it maybe is lacking in some aspects because of high volatility, et cetera. So that's an area where we haven't really seen a consensus. But broadly speaking, the paper sets out the principles that would be not just for property and investment, but then a step further using Bitcoin as a currency. And I want to make a disclaimer here that everything I've talked about specifically applies to Bitcoin and also Ethereum and several other currencies that are very similar. But when we get into more complex mechanisms, especially staking mechanisms, when we get into sort of derivatives on the blockchain, that's a whole nother topic. And so the paper doesn't explore that. And inshallah, we would publish a second paper that explores those topics in more detail.
Well, I'm looking forward to part 2 because, as we know, this industry does not slow down. If anything else, it'll actually speed up with innovation. So I'm sure you'll have that second paper ready to come out soon. And jumping back to you, Irina, I wanted to ask, what are some of the things you're seeing companies do to position themselves to win in this market? Outside of hiring yourself or consulting you, what are some of the things we're seeing companies do to adopt these crypto adoption?
Community. It's community first. If you've built a community that love you, support you, and want to participate in your project, you are halfway to success. And it's the same, whether you're in the Middle East, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Australia. It does not matter. Community comes first. And if you put your product in a way that services your community, and if you interact with the community in a way that they see that you really care as a founder of the project, that you really care. I mean, that's the winning formula nowadays. Community generated content. We're talking about decentralized autonomous organizations where everybody in the community has a vote. And because nobody nowadays wants to deal with a faceless corporation. Everybody wants to feel valued, and it's across the world, and it's even more so in Middle East because we are very community-oriented group of people. Family comes first, neighbors comes first. I mean, you would do anything to help, a person who needs help. I mean, I'm spending my summer in Europe, and unfortunately I haven't really met my neighbors. Whereas in Dubai, I know not only my neighbors, but people 3 streets across the road. And when we were in the horrible lockdown situation, the community came together in a way that it was just very so community.
Yes, and here at Community Crypto, that's what we're all about. And it will be interesting to see. Do you think there may be a Dubai DAO at some point? Maybe that could establish more companies. What do you think?
Well, interesting that you mentioned that. There are a few initiatives that are looking into that, and I'm very happy to be part of those initiatives. Unfortunately, there's nothing to write home about. There's nothing to speak at the community TV show yet, but I'm hoping that comes November, December, I will have some really great news for you. We are looking very closely what Wyoming is doing. We are looking very closely what Malta is doing, and perhaps we will not do that because that was not very successful. But there are a few initiatives, and it actually makes sense because everybody wants to be, I don't want to be a faceless user. I want to be part of a company that I really care about.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned Wyoming as well as Malta. And Matthew, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the Middle East and maybe even Dubai, to make it more specific that can become a crypto hub, much like Miami, El Salvador, some of these other places that have high adoption?
Sure. Well, there's certainly the political will in the United Arab Emirates, which is ultimately the most important thing if we're talking about, a sovereign state becoming a hub. Recently, the UAE rolled out, under the Financial Services Authority, rolled out a tokenization framework. So now there's actually a regulatory framework specifically for tokenization of assets, which is a great step forward. Something that doesn't exist in most other jurisdictions. So in some ways, I would say the UAE is quite ahead. In terms of the Middle East overall becoming a hub, I think every sovereign state in the Middle East wants to become a hub, with a few exceptions. But most countries in the UAE are relatively small, except for Saudi Arabia, which is the 10,000 ton elephant. Other than Saudi Arabia, the countries are generally smaller. So to become a hub, there really needs to be a framework and a way to attract business from other sovereign states as well. I think if you're just looking at the UAE as a market, it's hard to really get to large scale that way. But potentially as a hub, it could make sense.
Yeah. And going along with that, as far as becoming a hub, I like to look towards the future. And because we do have a lot of adoption, I want to ask you first, Irina, in the year 2040, do you believe that there will be massive adoption to that point where it is sort of a crypto hub? Where do you see businesses going by the year 2040?
In general, or in Dubai, or in the Middle East?
Yes, in Dubai, and then even broader in the Middle East as well.
So there's definitely a political will to make UAE as the crypto hub, and Dubai specifically, because Dubai is a little bit more adventurous. It's a sovereign emirate. It's a little bit more adventurous than the neighbors, such as Abu Dhabi. It's more conservative. And also, what do you need in order to be a technology hub? You need a first grade infrastructure, which we have. We have we are positioned geographically very strategically between Africa, Asia, and Europe, and connecting those regions. It's a very good strategic position. Also, we are quite a young country. We are developing economy still. So what that means? It means that you as an individual or a company that is planning to set up there has the opportunities that you would not get in France or Germany, because it's a very mature market. It's an old market. So if you hadn't started 100 years ago, starting up, it's a little bit more difficult. So I do see Dubai, UAE, becoming a hub, a crypto hub. There are a few things we're lacking. So let's not pretend that everything is so rosy and everything is so fantastic. There are a few things we're lacking. We're lacking engineering talent, and you cannot build a technology hub without an engineering talent. Whereas the engineering talent now, it's in Europe. For example, if you look at crypto industry, blockchain industry, there's a lot of talent in Ukraine, in Russia, in Belarus, and Poland. So how do we attract that talent? We make it easy for them to migrate to the UAE. We give them visas, for example. And our leadership has just a couple of weeks ago announced a new visa, something like 10 million coders visa, something like this. So basically, if you're a coder, if you're a technology developer, you can come to the UAE and you are given visas to stay and work. Another thing that we need is a mature VC market, and we don't have that, unfortunately. We have quite a few VC firms, which are very small, very not exciting. So you need capital in order for a company to grow. So answering your question, 2040, God knows what's going to happen in 2040. Future is very hard to predict. It's the future, but I'm very biased. I've been in the Middle East for 12 years. I'm very biased. It's my home. I love it. I love the UAE, but of course I have to acknowledge that there are pros and cons, and we have good sides and we have not so good sides. So I'm hoping that by 2040, UAE will be at par with Swiss Crypto Valley, which is just down the road from me here, at par with Miami, at par with other crypto hubs around the world, maybe even earlier, because we like in Dubai, we like bigger and better things. If we have to build a fountain, it has to be 10 times bigger than the biggest one. So I'm hoping that we will beat that by 2030.
Gotcha. And Matthew, I'll let you finish up here real quick. Where do you see the Middle East in 2040, or more specifically, Dubai?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball to look into, but yeah, I agree with the comments about the future of the region. I would say the most important thing for the region to be successful, specifically the Emirates and Dubai, is more mature VC money. I completely agree that there's really a dearth or a lack of venture capital in the region broadly, even specifically in the Emirates, Dubai, especially. Now, one interesting trend that we may see, I predict over the next 20 years, is after post-COVID lockdown, everyone is becoming more comfortable with a purely virtual model where VCs are closing deals without ever physically meeting face-to-face the companies and the entrepreneurs. So that hopefully for the region attracts foreign money as well. The foreign money comes in, it's going to start competing with the local money. That's going to make the local VC need to step up their game. One trend I hope is that there's too many incubators and too many accelerators that don't really do anything. They're very low quality, and in many cases they're hurting entrepreneurs. So I hope most of those go away and we see just more smart money coming in, writing checks, letting entrepreneurs get back to business, build their business, build out the technology, and build something that really delights people. That's what I hope for the next 20 years.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're a VC and you're watching, you know where you need to head to invest that money. So thank you both for coming on today. I appreciate you, Irina, and I appreciate you, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great talking to you.
From fueling local economies to connecting global markets, the future of money is taking shape now. Crypto State by CoinDesk will bridge communities of crypto investors, thought leaders, and developers to tell the global story of decentralized finance. Join us for this virtual event series as we make stops in Israel, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates to dive into the movements that are disrupting markets and changing communities. Register today.
Welcome back to Community Crypto. This week, we are discussing how crypto can impact the Middle East. And I'm joined now by Fred Pye, CEO of 3iQ, and Zachary Cefaratti, founder and CEO at Dalma Capital. How you doing, fellas?
Great. Good to see you.
Hi, great. How are you?
Good to see you as well. And congratulations to you both. I know you were both able to, your companies bring the first crypto fund to the Middle East. And I would love to hear from you first, Fred. What was the process like for that to happen?
Well, it was very exciting. First of all, the launch was easily one of the most exciting events in Dubai. Zach and the team from Dalma and Canaccord, we met with the most important investors who met with all entire crypto community. We met with everybody, and it all went off with great fanfare. But the work behind the scenes was took an awful lot of work. And it goes back to we in Canada became the first regulated Bitcoin fund in the world listed on a major exchange. And that was an extraordinary feat. It took 5 years, millions of dollars, and we litigated and we went to a public hearing to beat out the regulators. Now, Canada and Dubai, which a lot of people don't know, share a lot of great business relationships, businesses that are in both countries. And the regulation regimes in both countries are very similar, equally strict and very similar. But we knew that when we won in Canada, that Dubai is an extraordinary opportunity for us to test our thesis that we're going to bring the Bitcoin fund around the world 24 hours a day. But Dubai's trading hours are almost exactly opposite Canada's. And number one. And number two, they trade on Sunday. Their stock market's open on Sundays. So you can now buy Bitcoin 6 days a week, almost 24 hours a day, which is the exciting vision that we had.
Yes, and that time difference, that difference in time, people don't realize that some of the small stuff that you have to put in there to make it work. Glad you said that because it takes a lot, and those small things can make all the difference. So appreciate that. And Zachary, from your end, what was it like working on bringing the first Bitcoin ETF to Dubai?
Yeah, so we've been. I'm actually here in Dubai, so it's about 9:30 p.m. here. Excited to be joining you guys on the show. Quite late on our side, but we've been quite active in the crypto space for some time. We launched our first crypto hedge fund back in late 16, early 17. Good timing. Have worked on a few deals since then. But what really got us excited when Fred approached us from 3iQ was we've been looking for a product that we could take to institutional investors in the region. And the region is dominated by very large institutional investors, organizations like the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, the Public Investment Fund. For those who don't know about sovereign wealth funds, what they have been doing is all of the oil wealth that the region has generated that couldn't be the excess wealth that couldn't be used towards the economy immediately was actually parked aside for future generations in sovereign wealth funds. These sovereign wealth funds have across them accumulated trillions of dollars. You have a number of other institutional investors. Throughout the region, you also have very large families, which also have a very institutional approach and mindset to their investing, meaning that they're very conservative. But when they do invest, they are very sticky money and they write large checks. So when Fred approached us with the opportunity to bring a product that would be suitable for the large institutional investors, for the more sophisticated family offices, to be able to participate in a product in this region, that was something that really got us excited. And the process was, we've been through a few processes before. I'd say, the most important part of the process was educating the regulator, educating the exchange, educating the market about crypto, about the dynamics of crypto, about the risks. And taking that forward through, and I think the market has received that very well, and has liked the fact that it hasn't been a salesy process. It's been very much about education, about people coming to understand it, and then deciding whether or not it's something that's right for them.
Oh yeah, and I love the fact that you said it's all about the money. It sticks when you get it with the institutional investors, because we all know whoever has the money, of course, once they invest, if they are conservative, they usually want a long-term play. So that's great to hear. And with that, I want to stay with you, Zachary. You were quoted as saying, in a lot of cases, if the banks found out they were sending money to cryptocurrency exchanges, they would actually close their accounts. So this is a huge shift and a huge change. And I want you to explain just very quickly why this is such a huge shift, specifically in Dubai and the Middle East.
Absolutely. This is something that Irina touched on in the program earlier. The banks in the region are extremely conservative, and they have significant concerns about the potential risks of money laundering that crypto places on their customers, and whether their customers might be using it for money laundering activities. So they've taken a very draconian view where basically anything crypto related that happens through most Middle East bank accounts, they just immediately shut it down. So what you've seen with investors here, they'll send a wire transfer to a major exchange like Coinbase or you name it, Binance, anything with crypto in the name. We experienced this with some of our early crypto funds. The banks will hold the transaction, call up the customer, and say, do this again and we'll close your account. Or sometimes they just close the account immediately, and they cite that they have concerns about money laundering risk. And there is some validity to the concerns that some banks may have, but I think taking a completely draconian view and saying zero exposure to crypto has been difficult. Now, what this product has done is actually given banks in the region and the wholesale market a solution for clients to access crypto and to do it in a way that they know it can't be associated with money laundering. So basically what this does is it gives the region an access product. It also gives bankers a way to sell Bitcoin and sell crypto-related instruments to their customers, because the other side is, at the end of the day, there is demand. There are investors here, whether they be Islamic or conventional, who want to buy Bitcoin. They want this in the portfolio, and they call up their banker and they say, can you get me exposure? They talk to their private banker and they say, I don't have a product that I can sell you. There's nothing on my platform that's sellable because there's nothing listed on the local markets. There's nothing that's been approved here until this fund now. Then they call up their bank and they say, okay, just withdraw the money, send it to my Coinbase account. And then the bank says, sorry, we can't do that. If you do that, we're going to shut down your account because of money laundering risk. So now there isn't. So otherwise, people have had to kind of play tricks on their banks, move money to their British account or move money to another account, then move it into Coinbase. It becomes very onerous. And obviously, there are risks for money with exchanges. One to Canada where the Bitcoin fund and where 3IQ hails from was Quadriga CX, which I think quite familiar with on this. If you're not, I encourage looking it up. But what this really enabled was an access product, a way for the region's investors, whether they be institutions or regular participants in the local financial markets, to be able to buy crypto, to be able to buy Bitcoin through their bank, and keep their bank comfortable that they're not facilitating money laundering, and that the AUM is not going outside of their bank and outside of their organization, a product that they can sell through their RMs and through their distribution channels, which obviously is an important part of the wholesale banking market.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned AUM, assets under management. Banks need that in order to see how profitable they are, and if it's leaving, doesn't really help them much, right? So Fred, I want to ask you, if this is the base layer, as sort of an institutional investment product, could you see in the future maybe a product from your company that will include self-custody?
No, and again, and the reason being is a typical institution or an investor will not go through the rigmarole that's required to set up custody and put themselves in a position where you could end up with a wallet at a company like Quadriga CX, where the owner passes away and they all lose their passwords. So it's definitely it's definitely people come to us because we have the regulated platform to do this, and they can feel the safety and security.
We have to wrap right there. I appreciate you both for coming on the show. Love learning about the institutional investment side in the Middle East with you fellas. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That's it for this edition of Community Crypto. The Middle East is the next stop of Crypto State by CoinDesk, a virtual event series that aims to connect with local communities of investors and developers in international markets as we tell the global story of the future of money. That's happening on August 11th, so be sure to sign up right now on coindesk.com/CryptoState.